KMET at one time had been automated. They had a whole wall of reel-to-reel decks. It went all the way across the room. That's where I was, in the control room. So that was a relic. And one day, I got a call from David Moorhead, the general manager. He said, Grace Slick is coming up to be on the air with Mitch. Put it on delay. I said, well, we don't have a delay machine, David. He said, figure it out.
Welcome once again to the Talking Archive. My name is Josh Jacobs. It's an honor to be speaking with producer, writer, voice artist, and radio personality Bob Gowa. Thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Well, tell us about your life growing up and what inspired you to get into radio.
Well, I started off as a young child, and it was always kind of drawn to radio. Grew up, in the backseat of my parents' car. They always had the radio on. And one day I begged my mother to set up a tour for me at a radio station, a local station where we lived. And she did. And by the time we left, I knew what I wanted to do when I grew up. And it just, there was never any question after that. I wanted to work in radio stations.
What radio station was it that you got to tour?
WGBB in Freeport, New York. Station is still there. I think they're Chinese now.
Wow. And who are some of the DJs that you got to meet that day?
I wish I could tell you, but I don't remember who was on the air. The production director showed us around, and it was a station I had listened to, but I just don't remember the person. I thought Bob Lawrence was there. He's the one I remember. When I was growing up, I would listen to WMCA and WABC. They were the big stations. Really enjoyed B. Mitchell Reed on WMCA. In fact, when I was in L.A., I was working for a while at KMET, about a year and a half. I was a board op, and I had a lot of friends there. Stephen Kleen was a friend, and I was his engineer. And then they put me in with B. Mitchell Reed, which was pretty cool for me. I've grown up listening to him. So I kind of went far afield there from your question, but that's the progression of it. Yeah,
in fact, about 30 years ago, I got home from work early in the morning, and I saw all these fabulous 57 WMCA Good Guy survey folders. And B. Mitchell Reed was on there along with Harry Harrison, Dandy Dan Daniel. And I said, Mom, where did you get these? And she said, well, your stepfather has a bunch of them they found at a yard sale recently, and they're from 1964 and 65. And I was
those were the years.
Pouring through it, because you remember the story. I don't know if Reed ever told you the story about how he went back to New York and why he went back there.
Yeah, he did.
Cool, yeah, that's to beat Murray the Cane, that's what he did.
Right.
Yeah, so B. Mitchell Reed was a great one as well. And before getting to work with Reed, you actually worked with the legendary Wolfman Jack. How'd you get that job?
I didn't work directly with him, but we were in the same room a lot. I was doing some work for K-Day in Los Angeles, and he was hired to do the evening shift. So when I was getting ready to leave every day, he was there, and there was always a crowd around Wolfman. There were things I saw that I'm not sure I can talk about, except that, well, he's not around anymore, so I can. But there were substances piled up, nose high on that console, and he was so much fun. Just standing there and listening to him talk to guys in the room. There was always quite a few people. Later on, I went to work for his old station, XERB. I was living in San Diego. And we had 3 Mexican stations under our control. That was one of them. So I got to go to the transmitter a lot, bringing things down there to be aired. And the engineers, there was a guy named who gave me a bunch of the tapes that were the original Wolfman and Jack tapes. That's kind of how I get involved with him. Great guy. And, his wife is still getting paid for the reruns of his show, which I'm really glad to hear. She's a nice lady.
Oh, good. I'm glad to know about that, and that the show is still running, because, that was such a legendary program, so it's nice to...
And it still plays well.
Oh, yeah. I wished it was here in Los Angeles somewhere, but unfortunately there's not many oldie stations left in at least playing the 50s and 60s.
No, there's some talk about his show being brought onto a new station. It was back on XPRS or XERB for a while, but I guess that went away. But the guy who was running XPRS been talking about taking over an FM station in L.A., so it could happen.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that happening soon. We can't mention what station that is, because it's probably...
we don't know what it is yet.
Oh, okay. But that's interesting. I'm going to be definitely on the lookout for that one. Now, those tapes that you have of Wolfman's, do you still have them yourself as well, the ones that you were given by Adolfo?
Yeah, I've got some. And what they are, it's interesting the way they put the show together. 7-inch reels, each one had the song, a single song, several times with different intros by him. And there were enough of them on the reel that they could play them, randomly and never sound like it was a repeat. It's a pretty cool system.
And then after working with Wolfman is when he went to the Mighty Met KMET. Tell us about how you got to get that job.
Stephen Clean and I. You remember Stephen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the obscene Stephen Clean.
We had met, I think, through Shadow Stevens, and we had become good friends. Stephen went to KMET and asked them to bring me on as an engineer. It was as simple as that. And then I got to know Shadow. In fact, we're still in touch. And Shadow kind of, reinforced my position there. I was doing more and more work. It was a great place. A lot of fun.
And there were other DJs there, like the Burner Mary Turner. You had Rachel Donahue, whose late husband was Big Daddy Tom Donahue, the one who really pioneered the format on the West Coast. I think it was Roscoe on the East Coast that did the same that Big Daddy Tom Donahue did.
Yeah, Roscoe and I think Scott Muni had quite a bit to do with it. But, on the West Coast, definitely Tom. He started in San Francisco and then moved to L.A.
Did you ever get to meet Tom also?
Never did. He was gone by the time I got to KPPC.
Mm.
I met Rachel when we were both at K-West.
Oh.
And we're still in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, Jim Ladd in his book Radio Waves had talked about how Rachel was let go from KMET and then went to K-West 106.
Right.
When you were at KMET, how much of it was still a free form where the jock played whatever they wanted to format? It was
still all free form. So around, and I'm going to try to get the years right as we talk, but it was about 1972.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
So, I met, I had been at KPPC prior. That's where I met Dr. Demento and Stephen.
Oh, yeah. I forgot Dr. Demento was on KPPC, which was 1240 AM and 106.7 FM. And,
right, a frequency that would come back to haunt me a few times. 106.7.
It's interesting. I met a former KPPC DJ when I was bagging groceries at Hughes Market in Pasadena. His name was Bob Young. Did you ever get to work with Bob during that era?
Bob Young at KPPC?
Yeah, I forget what years he was there, but
must have been before my time.
Oh, okay. He told me the one time he played a Grateful Dead song, followed by some Bach, and the audience went nuts.
Oh yeah, we used to do things like that. Sure.
How much input did you have, even though you were a board engineer? How much input did if you suggested to like B. Mitchell Reed or the obscene Stephen Clean, hey, how about this record? How often did they consider your advice?
I didn't get involved in that. I was on one side of the wall. They were on the other. What I did to make them sound great, and they did their thing with the music. People like B. Mitchell Reed and Stephen Kleen and Richard Kimball, I really didn't feel like I had anything to contribute musically. They had it down to a science.
Yeah, they're the best. I mean, just to think that B. Mitchell Reed originally hosted a jazz show on KFWB when it was full service called The Boy on the Couch. And then when they were saying we're going to rock and roll, he's like, I hate rock and roll. Just to think that he said that originally kind of boggles the mind.
No, he was certainly learned his rock and roll. He was a great guy. I know his son now, David, and I are in touch. And, we both miss him a lot.
Did David ever get involved in radio?
Mitch's son, no. He's a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I remember B. Mitchell Reed and was, KFWB for many years. Were you there at KMET when they decided to kind of do I forget if it was an April Fool's Day thing or maybe just a day as KFWB Channel 98 where Reed went back to his... Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there? Okay.
No, but I do remember it. I listened to it, enjoyed it. It was great. Great idea.
That's great. And tell us about your favorite stories at the Mighty Met. What stood out to you about that station?
KMET at one time had been automated, and they had a whole wall of reel-to-reel decks, big 10-inch reels. It went all the way across the room. That's where I was, in the control room. And it wasn't used. That was a relic. And one day, I got a call from David Moorhead, the general manager. He said, Grace Slick is coming up to be on the air with Mitch. Put it on delay. I said, well, okay. We don't have a delay machine, David. He said, figure it out. Okay. And so I put a reel of tape on the machine all the way to the left, machine one. I ran that tape through all the other machines just to keep it stable and put it into a take-up reel on the last machine all the way on the right. Came out to about a 25-second delay. And it worked. It's a good thing it worked. We all would have been fired before she was going on. That was a favorite story. It was the one time that David acknowledged me, which was fun.
Yeah.
Of course, there were the trips up to the roof with Ace and others. The roof was a what am I going to call it? A smoking lounge. Yeah, that's it.
Did they ever broadcast from the roof? Did you wire the microphone?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that was a big secret. Where is so-and-so? Oh, gee, I don't know. He was here a little while. Is he on the roof? I don't know.
And this was across the street from the La Brea Tar Pits location, correct?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
We're talking with Bob Gowa, voiceover talent and radio personality. And next time he shares more stories about the Mighty Met, a great story from Shadow Stevens, as well as what radio station he was at in Southern California when they put it back together again.